Listening, the Key to Effective Workplace Communication. That's a stunning title. Why isn't speaking, writing, or presenting the key to workplace communication? The answer is simple. Studies show that we spend half of our workday, 50%, listening. However, we misinterpret or change 70 to 90% of what we hear. Is it any wonder that 60% of all workplace problems are related to listening? One report on the cost of poor listening is by Group Vision Research. It's estimated that 11 million meetings take place in the U.S. every day. Group Vision found that Fortune 500 companies waste $75 million per year on those meetings due to ineffective listening. Any wonder that listening is often called the forgotten communication skill and the lost art? But with each great problem comes great opportunity. With so many employees lacking listening skills, you have a chance to truly stand out. Active listening can significantly reduce the nervousness you might feel during an interview because it redirects your focus to the needs of your prospective employer. By listening intently to the interviewer, you demonstrate that you are interested in the organization's challenges and successes, are ready to help them problem-solve work issues, and are a team player as opposed to a self-absorbed job candidate. That's just one example of how effective listening skills can give you a significant advantage. So the question is, how can we improve our listening? Well, first we must understand the listening problem. Dr. Krista Arnold from the University of North Florida summarizes it well. Everyone believes they are a good listener. People assume they automatically can listen if they simply can hear. That's what it comes down to, confusing hearing with listening. Hearing, receiving the signal, and listening, understanding it, aren't the same thing, yet we tend to function as if they were. Listening requires two keys. One, self-awareness followed by conscious effort. We must be aware that it's time to focus on listening. Why? Because passive listening is our default state. Instead, we must consciously engage in one of the 5 types of active listening: comprehension, discrimination, critique, empathy, and appreciation. Although each requires different skills, all require a conscious effort. You also have to know what type of listener you are. The Watson-Barker-Weaver Listener Preference Profile lists 4 types. Now, although we all possess some characteristics of each, usually one type will dominate. The people-oriented listener is most concerned with relationships, sometimes to the detriment of the message. The action-oriented listener concentrates intensely on the task at hand, not necessarily how others are processing or reacting. The content-oriented listener's need to evaluate everything means they can get so caught up in judging that they miss parts of the message. The time-oriented listener fixates on brevity and efficiency, a fixation that can manifest as impatience or interruptions. Adele Lynn provides a self-awareness exercise for effective listening. Look at this and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 for the following, where 1 means no way and 5 is, oh yeah, that's me. Are you a faker? Someone who nods, makes eye contact, and gives uh-huhs, but your mind is elsewhere? Maybe you're an interrupter, someone who rarely allows the other person to finish or gives off signals that they want to speak now. Evaluators judge the speaker and force content into their own framework without being open to the speaker's context and point of view. For the happy hooker, a speaker's words serve only to activate their own memories or ideas, which they can then proceed to talk about regardless of what the speaker's message was. Everyone knows a rebuttalist, someone who listens mainly to find something to disagree with. Advice givers are those who, when listening, try to fix it, whether you want fixing or not. The higher your score, the more work you must do to become an active, effective listener. Let's look at some of the keys to active listening. Let's call this first key, silence is golden. Know that the words silent and listen contain the same letters. Or, as the old saying goes, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should listen twice as much as we talk. There's even a biblical verse about it. James 1:19, be quick to listen, slow to speak. A second key is, the eyes have it. Maintaining strong eye contact does more than signal interest. It allows you to control the inputs your brain receives. You can observe the speaker's nonverbal language, which accounts for a significant percentage of a person's actual message. Listening effectively means quieting that inner monologue running constantly in our heads. One of the most powerful tools for doing this is questions. In other words, responding to someone first with a question, not a statement. You can ask, for example, for instance, such as, give me an example? Or you can ask for elaboration. What else? Please tell me more. Can you elaborate on that a bit? In other words, after the person finishes, ask a question that calls for more than a simple yes or no. The question signals that you were listening and want to hear more. Good interviewers know that answers to follow-up questions often deliver the most revealing information. Another key is empathy, the power of caring. In other words, there's more to effective listening than paying attention. To really understand what someone is saying, it's important to care about the person and their message. If the other person isn't important to you, you'll rarely make the effort. This means listening to understand not only what is said, but also what a person is feeling. We must consciously clear away the ego and let the other person in. A key technique for achieving this empathy, the ability to put yourself in the other person's shoes, is reflection or paraphrasing. With this technique, you wait until the person has finished speaking, pause, then say things like, "So what I'm hearing is," it sounds like you're saying, "Tell me more about what you meant when you said," "I may not have understood you correctly. What I thought I heard you say was." Reflecting or paraphrasing serves three important purposes. It signals your interest in what the other is saying. It helps ensure that you understood correctly, and remember, we misinterpret 70 to 90% of what we hear. And it makes the other person feel understood, and therefore more open to give genuine give and take. And now, one final technique we could all use at times. Limit interruptions. Interrupting wastes time, frustrates the speaker, and limits understanding. Interruptions also send an unintended negative message. What I have to say is more important and I want to say it right now, which can be interpreted as disrespect. Effective listening means showing respect and courtesy at all times. Allow the speaker to finish each point, then pause just to be sure. To wrap up, let's quote Stephen Covey, author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says this about listening: most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. In other words, active listening doesn't come naturally. It requires determination. Old habits are hard to break. The good news, once acquired, the habit of effective listening will become your new default. And the rewards? Wow! You become a better communicator, improve your workplace productivity, increase opportunities for advancement, and develop better relationships in all areas of your life. Okay, thank you very much for listening.